We Filipinos are, of course, aware of global motoring trends and are also consumers of vehicles that can also be bought from Western countries. However, we have a unique car culture inherent in our history as a nation, reflective of our needs, priorities, abilities, and aspirations. As a collectivist society, we value our filial ties with our nuclear and extended families. When private ownership of vehicles became more prevalent, those who could afford them tended to purchase cars that had large seating capacities to accommodate their large families. They also needed a vehicle that had ample cargo space they can use to transport goods and equipment for the various agricultural, commercial, and general transport uses. And since a car is usually a large financial purchase for many, they need all those attributes to be had in one vehicle alone. Enter the Asian Utility Vehicle, or AUV. While the concept is global in nature and applicable to other emerging economies during the 1960s to 70s, it can possibly be argued that the Filipino may have pioneered this as early as after the Second World War. Manila and its environs were devastated during the American liberation. All transport infrastructure was wiped out. Out of sheer necessity, utilizing the copious amounts of Army surplus GP vehicles that the Americans left behind, Filipinos converted these jeeps into public conveyances, extending the rear to accommodate more bench-side seating, installing metal roofs to stave off the sun's biting rays, turned into the jeepney that continues to ply the nation's roads to this day. Individuals also acquired them for their personal and family use. When manufacturers saw vehicles like the jeepney and other contrived conveyances worldwide, they aped the side bench seating arrangements into the early form of basic utility vehicle, or BUV. The BUV is usually an unsophisticated vehicle with basic running gear, rugged suspension, tough chassis, and bare bones accoutrement, traversing unkempt and unfinished road networks. What turned that vehicle type into the AUV we know it today was a revision to the seating layout. AUVs adopted a two-row forward seating arrangement plus rear side bench seating in a 3-3-4 orientation. This prioritized passenger comfort, making it more appealing to family use. This format of vehicle was produced for decades. However, shifting trends in preferences gravitated buyers towards modern sport utility vehicles with higher carriage heights and four-wheel drive, or towards unibody multi-purpose vehicles with three-row seating. The final nail in the coffin for the traditional AUV was the advent of stricter emission standards that rendered their ancient power plants archaic. And so today, we are celebrating the AUV by driving one of the very last of the breed. This is a 2017 Isuzu Crosswind XL. Hey guys, behind me is an example of one of the last generations or last releases of the Isuzu Crosswind. This is an XL model, as bare bones as you could possibly make it, intended for fleet use. You can see some non-standard items fitted to the car, like the wheels. They are 15-inch alloy wheels. I think these cars come with the 14 alloys, but this one has 15s fitted with 205 70/15 tires. You could see that it is also not in the best condition, but it is a vehicle that we're going to be driving for today. It's my first time driving an Isuzu Crosswind, so let's see how this goes.
this is one of the last Crosswinds ever sold brand new. It has the latest 4-digit plate. So this is like a 2017-2018 model, I guess. I have to check the paperwork. The bumper's falling off. You can see, I mean, it's not really falling off, but it's ajar, needs to be repaired. It has been repaired poorly. Then the wheels, this looks like some sort of Pajero wheel, the older box type Pajero, I guess, but I can't tell for sure. But these are 15s. The car's running 205 70/15 tires. Let me take you around the glorious 4JA1 2.5 liter engine right here. This is the engine bay. This car has an Amaron battery, Indian battery. I don't know much about Crosswinds, but what's important is this car has a turbo over here, and it's proud to say that's a 2.5 2500cc turbo engine. It says Isuzu here. It's non-intercooled, so I guess a good upgrade is to intercool this sucker and up the boost. I've heard that the turbo can handle 1 bar. I think the air cleaner is more than enough size to breathe in more than enough air. I wouldn't modify the intake system, but I would really like to add an intercooler should I have one of these. See, it has all the stickers. Don't touch. I don't know exactly what am I not supposed to touch. I don't understand this diagram. And you can see other stickers here, how to maintain the car. Then a vlogger I watched was a bit ecstatic about this dual drive belt setup that this car has. So it drives the aircon compressor and the power steering, while there's just one pulley for the alternator and the bottom and the water pump, but it's wider. I don't know why they did it 2-pulley setup. Don't know the rationale for this, but this is the engine bay for the Crosswind. Okay, you can see there's some scratches. It's not the cleanest example, but it is the example that I have right now for this brief video review, I guess. You see it's dented at the back slightly, but you know, if you don't look too closely, it still looks presentable. The rear, this side is a lot more scratched, but anyway, it's a beater and I'm not complaining. It's still a Crosswind. It is something still that I could still drive around, so there are no complaints here. XL model, I guess this is the lowest end model, basically done for fleet usage. It's really bare bones. Even if we get to the inside, you can see it's bare. Door's a bit heavy. That's reassuring. You can see the interior. Has a nice steering wheel that reminds me of maybe a Trooper or a Highlander, but it's a basic steering wheel from Isuzu. You can see a dashboard that is very much early 90s in the look inside. Then you can see bench seating. It's basically a very shallow bucket for the driver's seat, but for the passenger it's basically a bench seat. You can seat 2 people in this bench seat. Second row, and then there's kind of a third row with jumper seats at the back, because this was marketed as a 10-seater. And basically the Crosswind is a very popular option, I guess up to now, as a taxi, UV Express, AUV style unit for public conveyance. So you can, even though the interior is not as premium as you may like it, it's kind of built to last, I guess. And let's try seating in it. Yeah, right. You can see windows wind up and down. They're not power windows, they're manual powered windows. I guess for simplicity that's perfect. Can see this has no tachometer, just all what you need. And the speedometer goes to 180, but I don't think this car will go to 180. I've taken this car 80 to 90. I don't know if you can see it. This is a Kenwood head unit, single DIN, doesn't have Bluetooth, but it has USB and an aux jack. And you can see this very long shifter over here. It's very, very long. 5-speed manual. This is very anachronistic, I guess. This traditional handbrake pull lever. You have to twist it to unlock it and then pull it to lock it. Reminds me of our old L300. And this car basically drives like our old L300 Versa van back in the day. Alright, we're in this video. Let's try to take it for a spin. Alright, let's try to start it. Engine's already hot, so it starts no problem. Let's close the door. Let's take it for a drive. Yeah. Let's take it slowish. You can see the aircon controls also. They're very 80s aircon controls, but they work well. AC in this car is cold, but the problem with this car when you drive it, I guess it's nothing to do with the basic design. It's just because it's old. Shift to second. The problem is the front shocks are dead. Let's try to do a hard brake. I don't know if you could see it on camera, but the front end bobs a lot. Brakes are strong. This short loop inside this subdivision goes okay. I'm keeping it on second gear. It's agricultural sounding. It has that Ford JA1 engine, 2.5 liters direct injection, overhead valve, ancient engine design, but this has a turbo. I don't feel it. It's not that fast, but I guess it does the trick. I'm on second. Full throttle. Brakes are good. Brakes are very strong. What fails this car, in slow speeds the steering is okay, but on highway speeds it feels a bit vague. I don't know if it's really inherent to this car or it's just that the steering gearbox is worn. But the steering isn't very confidence inspiring on freeway speeds, highway speeds. But really, it's the front shock that really gives me the nausea, the heebie-jeebies of driving this car at highway speeds. It drives well. It's a manual. I guess you can say it's engaging, but I really kept it in second all this time. You don't go so far with first gear, but it allows you to still creep up and accelerate even with heavy loads, or creep on steep grades, or both. But for flat surface, relatively low incline driving and driving by yourself, second gear is all what you need. And I'm in second now at this short tight loop. I think the rear suspension is a bit stiff, but again, I think it's more that the front suspension is dead. That's why the rear feels a bit stiff. But again, this is made to transport around 10 people, so it should have a suspension that is rigid enough to support the load of 10 people. It's not a bad car considering everything. Isuzu knows how to make reliable, dependable vehicles. Overbuilds them. Make sure that they last quite a long time. And with this example, clocking 220,000 kilometers and still drives okay, I would just really change the front shocks and investigate the steering gearbox. But otherwise, I think this is a good beater, and this is something I should really consider as some sort of daily driver slash tow vehicle. I think this car can tow. I could not find any details about its towing capacity, but it's a pretty nice car, I guess. Let's put on a handbrake, turn off the AC, turn off the engine, and it's quiet.